So as I mentioned in part one, this being part two, is about the use early on of diverting the water for stock water and livestock. That particular difference, as you'll see later on, with the canals. Uh, Here you see, like I said, short distance, close to the river or tributary of the river, parallel the river, and of course, still just, not any further than they could have been able to do within the cost of individual labor. Um, so let me pull up an article that was published in 1933 uh, in the Colorado magazine. Here you'll see a picture or an example of irrigation canal in Arkansas Valley. But here in the bottom, I'll read it to you. So this is about uh, an example of a canal for just merely cattle. So the report is corroborated by old timers who have lived in the Arkansas Valley since the 70s. As recently as September 18, 1932, Mr. George A.H. Baxter of the Grenada community gave the writer an account of early homesteading in that portion of the Arkansas Valley where Mr. Baxter has lived for about 60 years. He mentioned specifically the ditch that was taken out by Jake Stover in 1872 and extended by Stover and the elder Baxter in 1874, the Sisson ditch of the present day. Reports of the state engineer for the period 1883 to 1890 indicate that there were several hundred individually owned or small cooperative ditches in the valleys of Fountain Creek and of the St. Charles and Huerfano River. So I want to just get back to the testimony here of Mr. Baxter as far as growing up in Grenada and this particular the Sisson ditch. So what he's talking about is what's wonderful here is that I have the historical map of Prowers County in 1889. And the ditch they're talking about is this one, the Sisson Brothers Private Ditch. Okay, here's the Arkansas River, and so this is the thing is with Grenada was originally, I believe it was somewhere there was an older original version of Grenada in the late 1800s. It only lasted for about 10 years. Here it is right here. This is the railroad at the time of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe. They moved over here to town. It was mostly because of the local nearby rancher here did not want to sell their land for the town to expand. So the business owners and the town people, yeah, moved towards only about a mile to the west and set up a new Grenada. Okay, and here it is. All right, here's Arkansas, and this is probably just only about 2 miles or so south of the Arkansas River. And one thing I would like to point out, of course, is see all these different color-coded sections. Um, this is the size of a section, all right, 1 square mile. So that's the township. As you'll see here, I want to point out towards the southwest corner of the new town of Grenada. This is section 14 right here. And this is where in 1942 the federal government put in Amache, the Japanese American Relocation Center, right here, this section 14. We'll get to that a little bit later, but you see how homesteads that were deeded, they're color coded green. And the ones that were still in the process of being homesteaded, or for example, I believe here, as I may have mentioned earlier, how this was timber culture here. Okay, this would later become a homestead. I think so. You see the color gold coated green is already land that's been homesteaded and patented as and had received the deed, and now they own the land. Back to here. So you just over here. So this was an example of for the Sisson brothers here, as you see John, James, and J.A. here, and having cattle, and they broke off perhaps the side of the ditch in order to for the water to flow through and out and flood the pasture. All right. So I thought I'd just give you an example of that, and of course, very close to the Kansas border. Let me bring it out a little bit more. Um, you will hear more about XY Ranch. All right. We'll get back to this area later. We talk about Japanese Americans and Grenada. Uh, just south of here is Baca County, the main area where the Dust Bowl was. And as Shefflin's book, you should be able finish off this week, and was impacted very much so. And of course, okay, Baca County right here, Kiowa County here to the north, Benton County to the west, and of course the Kansas border right here. All right, that's it for now. I hope I didn't bore you there, but this part 2 finished up.